Well, I think actually Jean Buba is probably the person who is best placed to introduce Ray Bodie to us, because she has been in a coaching relationship with her for a long time. But I wanted to step in and welcome you, Ray, to this workshop. I saw you in action when you were coaching your spouse, Fred Penner, and Rick Scott and Charlotte Diamond in a shared concert. And your work was to help us remember the meaning and the flow of what the whole concert was. And no one talks like that. And so, and Fred said, and she's good. And I know that. So I know that this workshop is going to take us into skills and skills through the heart. Ray's work is in connecting with the script and with the characters and making sure that we're coming from the inside. So happy that you're here, Ray, and these people are yours.
Thank you, Linnea. Next to Jean, I think Fred is my biggest fan, which works well considering that we're married. And it was so lovely to meet you then, and I'm so grateful to be here with all of you. I've sat in on a couple of workshops over the last couple of days, and I'm really, really moved by and blown away by what I've been experiencing so far. I sat in on Philip Gatensby's workshop about a half an hour ago, hour and a half ago. And he, to me, in his workshop, embodied exactly the thing that I'm hoping to offer you today. So I won't spend a lot of time introducing myself in my bio. It's boring. You can find it online. Who cares? I'd rather spend the precious hour that I have working with you and hopefully giving you a tool or two that you can use to move closer to the material that you're working on. Before I do that, though, I want to, in a moment, give the floor, if you will, over to you, each of you. And I'm going to invite you just for a moment, if this is comfortable for you, because we've now been doing this for about a day and a half. And I'm going to invite you to just take a moment, if this is comfortable, again, to just close your eyes and sit back in your chair. And take a second to just reflect on this last couple of days, what you've seen, what you've heard, what you've witnessed, what has really penetrated you and your experience. And at this moment, we've still got, another day to go of the festival. But at this time, what comes to you as being a really significant takeaway from this festival, something that right now you know that you will take with you into the days after the festival? And I'm going to challenge you to whatever that thing is that comes up in your consciousness, boil it down to one word. So you get one word to speak what a significant takeaway is for you so far from the festival. And then I'm going to invite all of you to unmute yourselves, please. And I'm going to ask you to please offer up your name and your one word. Offer up your name and your one word. Now, before you do that, because the teacher, your guide, is giving over the floor, you have to talk now. So I want you to notice, and Jen Carter Morgan just had a giggle, so I think she knows what's up. What happened in you right now, knowing that you have to speak your name and this one single word? Did anything change? Did you all of a sudden hold your breath? Did you ask yourself, did I pick a good word? Yeah, did something change in your body? Just note that. Just note that. And then when you're ready, your name and your single word, please.
Mike. Flow.
Thank you.
Elaine, enthusiasm.
Lois, context.
John, humility.
Jean,
Authentic.
Sorry, you overlapped.
It happens. John, authentic.
Thank you.
Jean, breath.
Mm.
Susan, vibration.
Mm.
Jen, start.
Shelley, rhythm.
Mm.
Jan,
Bev,
go ahead.
Jan, appreciation.
And Bev, embodiment.
Chelsea, joy.
Ken, alive.
Mm.
Susan,
Jeff,
present.
It's Jeff here in Australia, and to contextualise it, our Aboriginal people often found their way through this vast continent through song lines. So my word as a storyteller is storylines.
Thank you.
Mary Jane, living.
Yeah, thank you.
Linnea, oneness.
Mm.
Tom, network.
Is that it? I can't tell. Going once, going twice. Thank you so much. So even that already, just taking a moment to check in, find that word within yourself, and then speak it. This is speaking from your heart. And what I notice and observe is that as you share those words with me, because they are, somebody used the word embodiment, because they are embodied, they penetrate. They penetrate me. They make me want to know more. So there's a little teaser. When I'm working with any performer, whether it's an actor or it is a public speaker, it's a politician, it's a storyteller, and they bring their material to me and they say, I need a coaching on this. We look at the material together, and the first question that I ask them always is, what is your objective? What do you want from your audience? In the case of actors, if I'm working with two actors, or even if I'm just working with one, oftentimes the audience for an actor is another actor. So what do you want that acting partner to do as a result of what you're saying? For public speakers, for storytellers, for politicians, for poets who are doing more speaker to audience address, the audience is your acting partner. So what do you want them to do at the end of what you are saying? Oftentimes when I ask actors, what do you want from your acting partner? The thing that they'll say to me is, I want to be understood, which is great. And what I often say to them is, let's just take that as the given. What else do you want? them to do? And oftentimes when people think of objective in storytelling, it sits in a place of they want somebody to have a thought about something, or maybe a feeling about something. But when I ask for objective, what I'm really talking about is, what do you want that person to do when they leave here? What do you want them to do? Do you want them to go volunteer somewhere? Do you want them to become more engaged in, let's say, the congregation that you're speaking to? Do you want them to go home and hug their kid? What is the physical action you would want that person to take after they hear you speak? Dream big. I want them to erect a monument. I want them to fill in the blank. The bigger the objective that you set for yourself, the easier it is, and also the harder you're going to work to make meaning out of these words that you have to say. If you keep it light and breezy, that's exactly how your audience is going to receive it. If the objective that you have is superficial, your listener is going to have a really nice feeling about it. They're going to go, oh, she spoke so well. Oh, he spoke so well. And then they're just going to forget it the minute that they leave you. So how do you make an impact, and what is the impact that you want to make? Sometimes we read a text and we know immediately what objective it is that we're trying to, or that we have, and the action that we're trying to compel our listener to take. Sometimes that comes clear. Sometimes it doesn't, and it actually requires a gentle and meaningful exploration of the material that you're working on to determine what the objective is. So why am I talking about objective when the whole point of my workshop is heart-to-heart communication between you, the teller, and your listener? Well, if what you're trying to do is infuse someone with the spirit, you're trying to infuse someone with the spirit to do something, and you yourself, which is why I asked you, what happened when you knew you had to say your name and offer your word? Did something happen to your breath? Very often what happens, and I've witnessed this in performers that are baby at what they do, or they've got 50, 60 years of experience, we all experience nervousness to greater and lesser degrees. And when that fight-flight response kicks in, we hold our breath. So if you look at that root word of respiration, or the word inspiration, it all comes back down to spirit. And if you're not breathing, if you're not offering up the words that you're saying on the breath, and you're withholding because you're scared, you're full of expectation, you're fearful of judgment. Side note, public speaking is considered the #1 fear. This is an old Jerry Seinfeld joke. So technically speaking, and death is #2. #1 is public speaking. So technically, the person who's giving the eulogy would rather be the one being eulogized than the person who's giving the eulogy. So when I love it, it's such a good one. When we meet, though, that kind of fear and that stickiness within ourselves, it stops the heart. If you think of the body as a system, a holistic system, the respiratory system and the cardiovascular system work together. They're in play or flow. Somebody used the word flow. I think it was you, Mike. Use that word flow. If the breath is not in flow, the heart isn't in flow either. So if you are withholding of the breath, you're withholding of the heart. So how are you hoping to have a heart-to-heart communication with your audience when you kind of can't feel your own, or it feels stuck, or it feels like fear is present. So part of what we're going to do today is explore what that relationship is between objective, the heart, personalizing the material that you're working on, and meeting the text with the breath and the heart. I don't know about you, but I certainly do this. If I've got any kind of material that I'm working on, and I meet this in actors all the time. So let's say that you're given a piece of text that you're invited to read a week from now, a month from now, even 2 months from now. Very often performers, the first thing that they do, that you do, is you read the text really, really fast, and you're already thinking of the way that you're going to recite it before you've even done any exploration of it at all. You're already planning out your brilliant way of speaking the material. So you're hearing the sound of your own voice, but it's all generated from up here in this little cooker, which is a wonderful thing. But if we're not dropping that material into the body and into the breath and into the heart, we don't have ourselves an embodied experience of the text. So we can't expect the people that we are offering the telling to have an embodied experience of it either. And again, from that embodied experience, I heard the word enthusiasm, enthusiastically going forward, thank you very much, and doing something with these incredible stories that I've heard some of you speak. Jean, how many stories have you and I worked on together? I mean, what a gift to be able to speak this material, but you want to ask yourself, how am I meeting it? From jump, how am I meeting the material? So you're going to find out. We're going to do a bit of it right now. So you will receive John 9. That was the text that I had put into the mix. Can I get a show of hands?
People didn't receive workshop materials in advance.
Oh, I see. I had included that. Well, what I can do.
I mean, people didn't sign up for workshops in advance, so it might have gone up. If anyone looked at your workshop, they might have seen it, but otherwise, are you able to drop it in the chat?
Yes, I think I can. Oh boy.
Fortunately, I know John 9.
Oh, well, good. I just want you all to be able to read it. Let me just see if I can do this. Oh my gosh, I can. I am so not. Okay, guys, look at this. I'm going to do it. And then I send it. There it is. It's there for you. And you know what's so good about this is that some of you might be familiar with it, but it's like an actor getting an audition. You're going to do it now. Feel how nervous you just got. I'm so happy that this happened this way. This is a real blessing. So if you could please open up chat. There is the John 9 that I've sent you in a Word doc. If you could open that up, that'd be swell. I'd love for you to have that in front of you, because once you all have it open, and do you have it open? Yeah? Little show of hands, little thumbs up. Excellent. Here's what you're going to do. I'm going to invite you right here, right where you are, nothing fancy. I'm going to invite you to go on to mute. And I'm going to get you to, without a whole bunch of thought or without us having really explored anything together, I'm going to give you a few minutes to read this John 9 out loud, just in the room that you're in. Read it out loud. And while you're reading it out loud, I want you to notice any little things that you are thinking or feeling as you are reading out loud.
Can you give me the verses because I can't open that?
Oh, sure. It's John 9, verses 9 through 41 inclusive, 9
Thank
through
you.
41.
Thank you.
You're
Is the
welcome.
version-
Thank
Is the
you.
version important, Ray,
Um,
for this work?
no, actually, it's not. It's not. Because if you were given a version of the text that differs from the one that I sent, that's the one that you get to work with. So yeah, it's totally great. Okay, off you go. And remember, nobody can hear you.
John 9, verse 9 to 41? Or is it 1 John 9? Because John 9 starts with some claim that he was.
I beg your pardon.
I
I'm so sorry. What I have is John 9. This is the Jesus and the blind man. A man born blind receives sight.
okay, starting with what verse?
Verse, I think it's verse 9. The first line is, as he walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link.
Verse 1.
Thank you.
So from the beginning.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
and then how far? To the end?
Down to 41, the end of 41. I have also just dropped a link into the chat. So it's not that Word document. It's a link which will actually open up into the text. Many apologies, you guys. Good. And just make sure to mute yourselves as you're reading.
Somebody's not muted.
Okay, my friends, apologies to those of you who haven't quite finished. It's a long piece of text and I'm aware of time. So now, having had that first read or most of the first read, here's the next piece. Now I'm going to invite you once more again, if this is comfortable for you, to just close your eyes and sit back in whatever chair you happen to be sitting in. And part of the reason why I invite people to close their eyes as we move into the body is that these sense doors of the eyes, they give us a lot of information and they keep us focused on the outer. And what I'm inviting you to do is to step into this inner space inside of these skin, the skin and bones. And the first thing I'm going to invite you to do, please, if you would, is bring your attention to the sensation of your feet in contact with the floor. Observing the relationship between the floor and your feet, feeling that sense of pressure down through your feet into the floor. Perhaps noticing that sense of the floor rising up to meet your feet. There are also 4 other feet, or perhaps if you're sitting on a couch, a much bigger, broader space that you also get to land your body into. And so bringing some attention now into the sensations of the backs of your legs, of your behind, in contact with the seat that you're sitting in. And there's really nothing special about what I'm inviting. It's just giving a really bare attention to the sensation that you're meeting. Your body meeting what you're sitting on. Your feet meeting what they're resting on. And as we can feel sensation on the outside of the body, we can also feel sensation on the inside of the body. And so notice what you observe as you gently kind of guide your attention through the inside of your feet, ankles, legs. Things like tingling, tickling, prickling, contraction, expansion. And then traveling that attention up into the torso. So from your seat all the way up through this beautiful spine that's running through the center of your body, like a wick in a candle, out through the crown of your skull. Ribs hanging off of that spine. Shoulder blades resting on the back, clavicles resting on the front. And all of this lovely interior space where the diaphragm moves from the exhale position, which is up, kind of tucked in underneath the rib case. And then when an inhale arrives, the diaphragm descends down towards the bowl of the pelvis. So as you're coming into the torso, you may observe sensations like prickling, tingling, tickling, But you also may observe the movement of your breath. And observing the possibility that the skull isn't just sitting there crushing the neck spine, but rather it's floating on top of the entire structure beneath it. And observing what happens when you allow the lower jaw to descend away from the skull and the eyes to soften back into the skull. And then very gently, very easy, you're going to sneak up on the sensations of breathing that are occurring in your body right now and observe them. Notice if you all of a sudden really wanted to be a good breather. Notice if it feels at all like you're wanting to interfere with the natural flow of your breath. Know that there isn't a right way to breathe. What we are doing in this moment is meeting the breath exactly as it is. Wherever it is, however it is, deep in the body, high up in the body, in the back, in the front, quiet, noisy, flowing, stuttering. Breath can certainly fall into rhythm, but it can also be very arrhythmic. Sometimes breath is a sigh, sometimes it's a yawn. And we can toggle between the sensations of breathing as they come and go and the sensations elsewhere in the body. The tight shoulder blade, the tickle at the base of the skull, the sweaty palms, the tight belly. And we greet everything we meet with kindness and curiosity and interest. We do not have to change a thing. Meeting ourselves and our experience as it is, as we are, is the beginning of self-acceptance. And it's a way that we move toward our own heart. And so if you would please, if this is comfortable for you, if you would take your right hand and place it over your heart, and then take your left hand and place it over your right hand. And observe that gentle movement of your rib case, like an accordion. Its bellows opening to make space for the lungs. Maybe feeling that sense of the belly opening and inflating, and the warmth underneath your hands. And again, we allow the breath to be exactly as it is. And then very easy, very gently, we're going to start to invite a little bit of the outer into this inner experience. And so we stay with these inner sensations, the breath, bodily sensations, and gently, gently just open the eyelids a crack, keeping the focus nice and soft. So we might be meeting light or color. We're not hard focusing on anything, but even as you start to bring the outer into the inner, notice what, if anything, changed or is changing in your breath, in sensation. So we stay in contact with our experience. And then, without disturbing yourself too much, stay with the breath. So let's just anchor to the breath. And it'll come and go. Your attachment to it, or rather your attention on it, will come and go. But see if you can stay with it for a moment, even as you bring your eyes back to this piece of text that you were reading earlier. Now, you may want to whip through this reading along very quickly, but I'm going to encourage you instead to really, really take your sweet, sweet time as you bring your eyes to these words and slowly make your way along these words, staying connected to the movement of the breath and to the sensations that are you're observing come and go. And as you're reading along, and again, take your time, a word or a phrase, a part of a sentence may have a real impact on you. Your breath will shift, sensation will increase or decrease. And when you spot that phrase or that word, I'm just going to invite you to very quickly jot it down on the paper beside you. You don't even need to look at the paper. Jot the word, jot the phrase, and then keep your eyes moving along the page as you're staying connected to breath and sensation. And I'll give you a few minutes to do that. When you sense that your brain is coming online, wanting to figure this out, thank it for that thought, and then come back to your breath and come back to those words. Noticing the ones that move you, and writing them down quickly. Yeah, and if you feel that placing your hand on your heart helps you to stay connected to it, do that. You can even put a hand on your heart and one down on your belly. So you're staying with that movement of your being while you're playing. And that's all we're doing. Nobody's going to get quizzed on this. We meet the words with our breath and our hearts. It's all a grand experiment. Just notice if you're holding your breath, if you are trying to be the boss of it in some way. Notice if there's part of you that feels like there's something to get right. If you're sitting up a little bit straighter, being a good student, soften, let your jaw go, soften your eyes, come back to the breath. Beautiful. And so I'm going to ask you gently to stop what you're doing. Just bring a little close to whatever line or phrase that you might be reading or something that you've written. Put your pen down. And then take a moment to close your eyes again and sit back in your chair. And then invite a big stretch into your body, up out through your hands. Stretch your legs out in front of you if that's comfy for you, and do whatever in this position you want to do. Your body knows way better than I do what it needs right now. So just give yourself a big old stretch. Ooh, this way and that. Oh, notice how the breath moves in the container of the body this way. And then bringing the arms down, maybe giving your shoulders a little shake, your legs a little jiggle. And still with the breath closed, come back to the breath now. Bring your attention back to the breath, wherever it is, however it's moving. And in your mind's eye, say yes to that breath. High up, down low, jagged, smooth, wide, narrow, doesn't matter. We let it be. And then again, very gently, staying in contact with the breath, open your eyes and meet those words or phrases that you just wrote down from this text. And notice which one is very compelling to you at this moment, the one that kind of jumps out, the one that wants your attention. Again, could be a word, could be a phrase. And then I'm going to ask you to take that word, that phrase, we're meeting it with the breath, and you're going to take that word or phrase and you're going to write it out at the top of a fresh piece of paper. And then I'm going to invite you to take a moment, and you can close eyes and open them as you need to. but we're staying in contact with the heart and with the breath. And I would love it for you to write down what you personally know about that word. So if you chose the word, let's say blind, it's a pretty big one in this piece of text. What do you know about that word? Not about technically. This isn't an academic paper that you're writing on that word. It's what you know about it. And allow that word to open up for you, because that word blind can be applied in a bunch of different ways. So you let yourself freestyle with it. You could end up writing about the blinds that are on a window in your house. So just let yourself go with it just for a couple of minutes. Stream of consciousness, writing about whatever word or whatever phrase you put at the top of your page. While you're writing, stay in contact with your breath and sensation. If you're right-handed, maybe you put your left hand on your heart or down on your belly. And just write. Notice when your brain wants to come in and go, oh, not that. That's silly. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Trust that whatever your body is giving your brain, write it down, move it. Be in flow. I love this word, flow. In your mind's eye, say yes to everything that's coming up for you. Who is connected to this word or phrase? What period of your life? How old were you? Where were you living? Who were your friends? Who and what and where and when is connected to this word or this phrase that you can feel? Lovely, my friends. And now, without thinking anything about it, I want you to go back to that reading, and you're going to read just that first stanza from 9 down to 12, just that first bit. Stay in contact with your breath and your good heart, and read it aloud again, and notice what you notice even as you're reading it. Off you go. Chelsea?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
I can. Now I can't. And when you're finished, just sit back with your eyes closed and feel your breath. And that'll also tell me that you're done. All right, my friends, I'm so sorry to bring this to a close. Oh, I wish I had more time with you. Yes, Chelsea. No? Okay. I'd love it if you all unmuted yourselves now, or whoever wants to speak. And if you could share a little bit about what your experience was of this little journey that we've been on, this kind of hors d'oeuvre-sized journey that we've been on. Anything come to mind? Anything you notice? Yes.
I was kinder to all the characters in the story.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
This was really amazing. Connecting, it really connected to like family and emotions, and it really connected the family of the blind man and his feelings with my feelings and my family. I felt really emotionally connected there.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought a lot about emotional connection as well. I was thinking about it kind of clinically, and as you instructed, I went through and the word divided came up. And then, yeah, okay, clinically, this is how they would be divided. And then you encouraged to think about how we think about in ourselves that word. And I thought of a time where I was divided with someone, and wow, okay.
Yeah. Listen, the words don't mean anything. You mean something. But until you're willing or ready or enthusiastic, I love this word too, about really giving yourself the opportunity to meet the words the way that you meet them, they will stay flat. My mom passed away many years ago, and I was still living in Toronto at that time. And my favorite greengrocer up on Bloor Street, it was April. My mom died in November and it was April. And this greengrocer had baskets of the most gorgeous raspberries, the little green pint boxes, the little paper boxes. I grabbed two. They were like 3 for $5. They were gorgeous. I grabbed two and I grabbed a third one. And as I was walking into the to pay, I smelled them and I started to cry. And I did not know until that moment that for me, raspberries are my mother. My mother was not a face-to-face communicator. She was side by side. So she liked to talk when we were doing a job with one another. So if I'd come home in the summertime, her and my dad had this huge overgrown raspberry bush. She'd stand on one side and I'd stand on the other, and we'd pick raspberries and talk. And I'd eat more than I put in the bucket. But I didn't know that raspberry for me was full of her essence. So whenever I meet that word, which occasionally one does, it's not static. It's not just black word or black letter on a page. It pops. And what I'd offer is that most of the stuff that we read, or a great deal of it, it has the juice in it, but we can't meet it from up here. We got to meet it from in here, in that combo of the breath and the heart. And the minute that you do that, and the weird thing is that, and I've met this in performers tons of times, how is me personalizing it going to make a difference to someone else? I'm imposing something on the material. No, you're not. You're just layering yourself into it. You still got to do all the research, and you're going to cross-reference this version versus that version. You still do all of the smarty pants stuff. I'm a huge advocate of that. But then when it comes to, I need to read this, the breathing of the life into it, your life, that respiration, that movement of the heart is the thing that travels across to the person that you're speaking to. If it's resonating in you in an embodied way, it is going to resonate in your listener, and then you're more likely to achieve your objective. What do I want these people to do when they leave here today? Make sense?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Anybody else? I know. Oh, I've got 1 minute. I'd love to hear from less talking from me, more from you. Yeah, Linnea.
I'm just thinking how stunning it is that you have brought us to this place of saying the words mean nothing, you mean something, you must be this layer in the creation of this telling, where this morning our theme presentation was how to tell the story, not my story. This balance of both of those is not all about us, but it has to be through us and deeply connected to us in the telling. Well, there's a life job for us.
Yeah. And again, going back to Philip Gatensby this morning, listening to him speak about generationally what we come in with. So raspberries are my mom, but raspberries are her mom and her mom's mom. Like it goes down the line. So when we breathe life into these words and we offer them out, we are offering ourselves over time. And isn't the breath of God sort of the whole thing? Yes. And Jesus was flesh and blood, and so are we. So it's not that I impose my interpretation on the story, but I include myself in it, because these are all flesh and blood people. Who was it? Oh, it was Aaron Susan, who said, I'm kinder to all of these people. Aaron says, these people remind me of my family. Well, hallelujah. Because if you are reading or offering from that place, you're going to tickle that in the people that you are speaking to as well. They'll feel you. They'll feel you. And the best performances I would offer that you've ever seen, whether it's an actor, a public speaker, a politician, another storyteller, they made an impact. I often say, did I say this at the beginning? Our job as storytellers, whatever form of story you're telling, is to make sense, but not just make sense, make sense. Sensation, that's the job. And look at this beautiful material you have to do it with. Anybody else have anything to share? I'm just mindful of time. It's 1:02. I could do this, but I would like more time to marinate in my dream. But I hope that you've received something from this. And listen, for those of you who writing is not kind of your jam, like when you're freestyling, turn your voice memo on your phone, walk around your room and just talk. Find the phrase and talk. Just talk, just talk, just talk, just talk. Dance it, collage it, whatever the thing is that moves you, do that. We did writing because we're all sitting here on Zoom and it's just an easier way to kind of approach it. Cool. Anybody, anything else?
I just wanted to share that the word that I wrote down was blind, and I wasn't aware of why I did that, but then it came to me that at one point in my life, I was told that I was on the verge of going blind, and I think that's why it resonated with me, and it had a special meaning. I'm thankful that I'm not on the verge of being blind because I had a wonderful surgeon, but when you said to write down a word at the top of the page, that's what I did.
That's lovely, Florence, because all of the heart
All of a sudden,
of
that made
you,
the connection, and it was a good one.
and being given a diagnosis like that is scary. Look at the journey of that. A scary diagnosis, then the time between the diagnosis and a surgery, and recovery and joy. So all of that comes to play in one word.
Yeah.
Incredible. And how can that not then be layered in to the speaking if you have to offer this to a listener? It's right there. It just gets baked in, but we got to make it conscious first. Thank you so much for offering that.
Thank you so much, Ray, for this wisdom. I bet people will go away and say, it wasn't what I expected.
I hope so.
And it was what I needed.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Thank you so much. You're lovely. Perhaps I shall see you again. Have a great rest of your festival. Bye.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.